He did it! He did it! Flutie did it! I want to go higher! Batted up. Oh, God! Stokely! Down the side!
Extra point on 3, extra point on me. 1, 2, 3, extra point!
Extra point! Stupid fuck.
Okay, guys, it's episode 3 of the Extra Point podcast.
Should just let you do it by yourself.
So I didn't want to tell you. I just wanted to see what would happen. Okay, so this is episode 3 of the Extra Point podcast. That was a reference, if you didn't know. I wasn't being dumb. That was a reference to...
That will not be a regular thing that we do.
It was a reference. Last Chance U Season 5 dropped this week. And we both binge watched it. I did over the course of 2 days. And how fast did you watch it?
I watched it in 1 day.
1 day? You watched all 8 episodes? 8 hours? You just sat there for 8 hours? I mean, I watched like 5 the first day and then like 4 the second day.
I took off work that day to watch Last Chance U.
So we're going to give a little review on that. We'll talk about that. First, let me plug some shit.
Okay.
You guys can go follow us. Oh, what are you going to do? You're going to go look at
You're good. My dog may or may not come into frame.
That's okay.
Never mind, he's backing up. Sorry. Just wanted to give you a warning.
What's up,
Go
Jones?
ahead, sorry.
So you guys can go follow us on Twitter at Extra Point. It's right there, at Extra Point Media. Make sure you guys, if you want to ask a listener question, we haven't gotten it yet. We didn't get that many. Well, towards the end we started getting more, but we haven't gotten it yet.
We got to pick up steam.
You can message us, xtrapointcontact@gmail.com. If you guys want to support the show, the best way to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe on the videos on the YouTube, or, rate, review, write things on whatever platform you can do things on. And I know we have Spotify. I know we have Apple Podcasts. I know we have Thomas messing with his framing. And
Sorry.
getting some focus. Here we go.
No, I fucking keep talking. You're good. My video's about to be weird at this part. You might just want to put like a picture where I am.
Just put a picture of your face there. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that actually.
That's fine.
So we're gonna do our Last Chance U review, but the first thing I want to talk about and just get it out of the way is the NFL and the players that have opted out. So currently, I counted how many we have that opted out, and it was 40 players opted out of the season due to COVID concerns. One of them was a free agent, so I'd say 39. I don't know how many players are in the league, so I can't give you this is the percent of players but it's 40 out of...
Close to 1,000, because there was almost 900. Well, that's only on the CBA. Never mind.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, I mean, it's not a huge portion, but it is a portion. None of the guys that left were huge stars, except for maybe one team got dicked. There was maybe 3, if I remember right. There's 3 kind of that we really need to talk about.
Yes.
I'll just go through this list. We're not going to talk about every single one.
Okay.
I'm not going to read every single one. I'm just going to scroll through this list and kind of pick out the important ones. First one on this list for me is Eddie Goldman with the Bears.
Yep.
Out. And that's the trend we're seeing. Lots of D tackles and offensive linemen holding out.
Yes.
And that's because my guess is a lot of them not only are obese, and they're obese. Their BMI is probably over 30.
Sure. I mean, yes.
Okay. So that's technically obese. And
most of them are fat asses.
Yeah. And so that's a complication with COVID. If you're overweight, have a BMI of over 30, it poses extra concerns. That's why I feel like we saw so many bigger guys, linemen, sitting out. Eddie Goldman, I know you are a big fan of the Bears defense, or were. What do you think Eddie Goldman missing this season is going to do to that defense?
So they'll still have Akeem Hicks moving around everywhere, which we'll talk about Akeem Hicks later in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But Eddie Goldman's kind of their nose tackle up front. He's their primary run stopper, so they're going to miss that a lot. They'll probably sign a free agent with the same general body type, just a big dude, but he's not going to have the same skill set because Eddie Goldman's really good. He's really underrated because the rest of that Bears defense is it's still pretty good, but that year where it was like ridiculous, Eddie Goldman was a big part of that. So,
Okay. Well, now there's one I want to bring up. Not really a big player, not a star per se, but kind of an interesting situation, and that's Devin Funchess with the Green Bay Packers, who's who's leaving. Now, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm even more pissed now.
Yes.
You
So that terrible, terrible draft that they did looks even worse now. Because like, we got Devin Funchess in the offseason.
That was their excuse. Like, we brought someone in. It's Devin Funchess. Which he's not like, he's
fine. He's good.
He hasn't been like a premier guy. He's not a guy I'd be towed in that like this is the dude we brought in for you, Aaron Rodgers. You have Devin Funchess now. Well, they don't have him. He's gonna miss. I don't know the exact reason he opted out, but it's all COVID concern things.
Yeah.
Another big one, Damian Williams and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, they have. Luckily, they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and so that kind of works out. But they don't have a great guy to back him up at this point. Damian Williams has been good too.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he was really good in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, in playoffs especially, he's been fantastic.
Yep.
And so,
I'm not playing fantasy this year, but if I were, well, maybe I will in the future. I'm not in any leagues right now, but
yeah, me either.
If I were, I would draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire decently high.
Yeah. Of course, you have to worry about touches.
Yes.
Because he's playing with Patrick Mahomes, and like your game plan has to be let Patrick Mahomes throw the ball the entire time.
But if he's there, like in like the second, third round, and you need a running back, you could do a lot worse.
Oh yeah, you could for sure. All right, and I think we're going to talk about just this team that has a ridiculous amount of players sitting out, and that's
Hold on, before that, did you see the Jets player that opted out yesterday?
C.J. Mosley.
Yes, that's a big deal.
That is. I haven't got there yet.
Oh, I thought we were talking. I'm sorry.
New England and then New York.
Oh, I thought we were only talking about the Patriots. God, sorry.
I'm going down a list. You just slapped your mic.
That sounded great.
So the New England Patriots have a whole bevy of players who sat out. Not a ton of star guys, but a couple guys that are important to the team for sure. Matt Lacoste, who's tight end. Wide receiver Marquise Lee, who was a new signing that was supposed to be, they have problems in their wide receiver group. He was supposed to add to that and bring something, and he's not going to play. Pat Chung, who's been a part of that defense and a contributor for a long time. Dante Hightower, big one. Probably
Huge.
their most important defensive player.
Yes.
And he'll be missing the season. Brandon Bolden, a running back, not that big of a deal. Marcus Cannon, offensive tackle.
Big deal.
Big deal.
Big deal.
From my understanding, he gets injured a lot anyway.
That's true.
So, Danny Vitale, fullback, which I don't know how much.
Legend.
Do they use fullbacks that much in their system?
Yeah, they do. You remember they had that one guy, his name was like James Devlin. He had the neck roll still. So that was going to be, that guy retired, I think, or he's injured or something. He wasn't playing this year.
Right.
So they'd bring him, Danny Vitale. And Danny Vitale is a really good athlete for fullback position, but he's sitting out. So
yeah. And then Najee Torin, who's offensive lineman I've never heard of.
Neither have I, unfortunately.
Yeah. But okay. And that's the thing I'm seeing with a lot of these teams is offensive line depth is going to be a problem because lots of these guys, even though they aren't starters, you want depth on the offensive line as much as you
Plus, the dip from like starting caliber offensive line to backup to not on the team is vast.
Yes, as we saw with the XFL. Even though some of the offensive linemen in the XFL were all right for the talent they were going against.
Yeah.
Nate Solder for the Giants. He's been up and down towards the end of his career, but he's still kind of a key piece of their line. So
I agree.
C.J. Mosley for the Jets.
Large.
Probably their best defender now because Jamal Adams is gone.
Large.
Yeah, so that's huge. How much is that? Is like, this season's fucked anyway, and like, I don't want to catch COVID for a fucked season.
Well, if you look at C.J. Mosley's career, it's Mosley. I can't speak right now. C.J. Mosley. But if you look at C.J. Mosley's career recently, he's kind of been hurt in recent years. So he's like, well, shit, I get a year off. Not off. Obviously, you're still doing whatever you're doing at home. I think it's 150K, or was he high risk group? Because there's a high risk and low risk. I think he was low risk, so I think he just takes 150K, which whatever, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, if you can't live off 150K in a year, you need to.
And he's got money.
Exactly.
Still. So.
Exactly. So I mean, he'll be fine. He'll heal up. Hopefully, he'll come back like fully healthy if he wasn't going into this season because he's really good.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one, Marquise Goodwin, and probably the last one we're going to talk about, Marquise Goodwin.
Okay.
guy with a lot of potential and is super fast and has never
Mhm.
produced. And then you were thinking maybe he goes to the Eagles. They don't have anyone really at wide receiver.
Mhm.
That's been one of their main issues. And who knows what's going to happen with Deshaun Jackson? I still don't know.
Exactly.
And he could have been that replacement guy. So big loss for them, but not as big as some of these other teams.
Yeah. He's kind of a role receiver in that he can't do everything, which is fine. He's got ridiculous speed. So I think him and Deshaun because Deshaun Jackson gets hurt a lot too, just because he's older. And I don't know what's going on in the offseason with him. He did some stupid stuff, but whatever. So I think Goodwin was kind of there to give Deshaun plays off, or just kind of work him into where you have two of those like legit deep threats on the field. But I don't know what happened. So I don't know.
I forgot one big one, which was Michael Pierce.
Oh,
Vikings.
God, that's bad for you.
Yeah.
Well, he was very early. That's probably, I would say, Michael Pierce, Dante Hightower, and C.J. Mosley are the biggest ones.
Yeah.
So the Vikings D-line kind of being as meh as it is right now. Who's you guys' other D-Tech? It's like Shamar
Stephan.
Yeah, Zimmer loves him, but
Yeah.
he's not super good or anything. At least he hasn't been. So that's
our interior D-line is questionable. Thankfully, we have some fantastic linebackers, but
yes, you do.
So that could help. And we still have Daniel Hunter on the outside. And then who knows? We brought in a shit ton of other ends, and then we still have Higdebo, or however you say his name.
He's funny on Twitter.
He's shown flashes of talent on the field too, but you just wonder with as much with more playing time, will the stats? Because like if you did like percent of plays to his stats, and then you tried to extrapolate it into if he was playing the whole time, it'd look fantastic. You have to see how that actually.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, no one's going to be as good of a run stopper as Michael Pierce.
Yeah,
that the Vikings
and it would
have
have been great. At least how this works out is it's not like, we're losing a season off his contract.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we're losing a year. He's going to be a year older. That sucks. But other than that, his contract, it's not like we're losing a year or anything. So we'll still have him going forward. Okay, so that's all we really need to talk about, the players opting out. The other thing, we're going to do a rare piece of baseball discussion.
Swing, but yep.
So I'm not a big baseball guy, but this took over Twitter, so of course I saw it. Joe Kelly and just the Astros-Dodgers feud and everyone's feud with the Astros. What are your opinions on the Astros? We're from the Houston area.
Okay. Yes, I am. So first off, everyone cheats in baseball. That kind of is how it goes. I know that. People say sign stealing is a part of the game. It honestly is. But what's not a part of the game is using a camera to film it and then smacking the shit out of a trash can in the back. I don't know. I don't think that buzzer thing was ever proved. I think that was disproved, actually. So I'm not even going to mention that, which I just did. So whatever. But what really irked me about the Astros is how the MLB basically did nothing in the suspension. They got fined their first-round draft pick, which in baseball, it would take years for them to play in the MLB anyway. They got fined a little bit of money. I don't know the exact amount. And they suspended their GM and their general manager for a year, which they both got fired anyway.
Right.
So who cares? Basically did nothing. And so I don't know. I kind of don't know what they expected players to do. But I'll run down what happened basically.
Okay, go ahead.
So Joe Kelly, pitcher for the Dodgers. The Dodgers lost to the Astros in the playoffs the year that they were allegedly cheating. Allegedly cheating. They were cheating. So they're a little salty at them. Which, whatever. Everyone cheats in baseball. I'm sure they cheat in baseball. Every pitcher uses pine tar at some point. Whatever. It's just the methodology of cheating that takes it too far for some people. And the Astros just kind of being like, whatever, we're the best.
When you're good,
yeah,
you already are hated.
Yeah.
So like, what if the Warriors had cheated?
Oh yeah, everyone would have been. Yeah, exactly. That's a good analogy.
It's like you're so good, and then you cheat, and it's like now I don't know when you started cheating. I don't know how it affected, but everything you've done in the past, I no longer can respect because
yeah.
It's like when did you start doing it, and how much of it is attributed? I'll never know, and so I'm just going to assume the worst.
And former Cleveland Indians legend Trevor Bauer had a good point where it's like, so they lit up Clayton Kershaw who's the Dodgers pitcher. He's probably like their best pitcher, one of the better pitchers in the league. I don't know if he's still good right now. I mean, he's still probably pretty good. Whatever. And like that's a guy that kind of relies on the off speed. He's not really like a flamethrower, so he doesn't throw like the 99-mile-an-hour fastballs. He's an off speed guy, so there's a lot of curveballs, a lot of sliders, and that's kind of what the cheating was. The cheating was whenever it was an off speed pitch, bang bang, don't swing at it. So Joe Kelly comes up, hits Wade Bregman earlier in the game, which whatever. I mean, no dugouts were warned. The umpire can issue a warning, and then if somebody else gets hit, the umpire can throw people out. And then Carlos Correa comes up to bat a little later, misses him, so throws a fastball behind his head, which, I mean, obviously you kind of know what's going on there, but misses him, doesn't even hit him. Correa then strikes out swinging, and then as Joe Kelly's walking back to the dugout, Correa's like, "Oh, throw me the fastball. You scared to throw the fastball?" And Joe Kelly's like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Like, stop. And then he does the amazing, crying face, which is spectacular.
He looked like, you've seen that video of the, I don't know, is it college? Is it high school? Of that one guy who throws out the pitch, and then it's like a slow motion of him walking, and he does the, and it's all like,
yeah. No,
it looked exactly like that.
Yeah.
It looked like he was making a reference to that.
But so he does that, and he's walking back to the dugout, and Correa is already kind of a weirdo anyway, which is fine. People should be weirdos. It makes things interesting. But he's literally just standing there throwing all this shit off, and it's just like, "Man, whatever, fuck you, blah, 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 blah." And then the Dodgers dugout starts to come out, and then the Astros dugout starts to come out. And if you ever watch a baseball fight, there are very few baseball fights. It's mostly just like, hey, bro, say, bro, hey, bro. Which is what this was. So people are saying that, like, "Oh, dude, Joe Kelly hid behind his team. What a soft." Like, no one fights in baseball. Like, that's stupid. Like, to say that is stupid and just shows your clear bias. I think whatever. I mean, pitchers are going to throw at the Astros this year. It's just going to happen. Obviously, don't aim at people's heads because that's not worth it no matter what. But whatever. I mean, it's a little weird.
So is the 8-game suspension?
No, that's stupid.
It's too much.
So yeah, it's way too much. So what the MLB is trying to do there is like, listen, don't fucking throw at the Astros. God damn it. Because 8 games for a shortened season, there's something like that's 20% of the season for that, and it's like for missing him, like you're gonna for miss. The official thing was like for missing Carlos Correa by the head, but also for taunting him, and it's like, okay, but that's 8 games, like that's soft, that's
right.
stupid.
I don't necessarily know if the suspension was too much. I mean, you did throw it at the guy, tried to hurt him. Not that I'm like, oh, you're a terrible person. I probably would have done it too. So, but like, and probably in his head, he's going, well, this is a fucked season.
Yes.
Probably not going to end anyway. Things are already getting fucked in the MLB with the Marlins, which we're not going to go in depth about, I guess. But their whole season's getting fucked. Everyone's catching COVID, and that's what happens when you're not in a bubble. Doesn't look good for the NFL either.
No bueno.
Just because of that. But, maybe he's like, this season's probably not going to end. Let me just try to get my payback because, like, fuck these guys. And if I get suspended for 8 games and we don't win, we're probably just not going to make it to the end anyway. And I feel like a lot of pitchers are going to have that mentality going against the Astros. And I can't blame them. I'm completely unbiased here because I don't give a fuck about baseball.
I barely give a fuck about baseball.
So I don't have a team. So I'm like, I could like the Astros. I could not like the Astros, but they cheated. I don't like cheaters generally. So even though everyone cheats, you got caught. So don't.
You got caught and they went the next level. Because people sign steal, like if someone's on second base and they see like catchers have sequences. I don't know why I'm doing this, but they do it with their hand. Sequence. They do it with their hands, basically, and if there's somebody on second base or there's somebody, like, in the crowd, the Yankees recently just got caught for doing this, too, so fuck them as well. But they'll have a camera, and then they'll be relaying, like, oh, when he does the finger up, that's a fastball high and inside, or when he does the pinky down, that's a curveball low and inside, or whatever the fuck. So people do that. I mean, that's kind of part of baseball is sign stealing, so whatever. It's the whole trash can and knowing exactly what's coming, when it's coming. That's
and being as good as you were.
Exactly, because it's a huge advantage. And the other thing is the Astros are fine by themselves. They're good. They're good hitters. Altuve, Springer's in a bit of a drought right now, but he's still pretty good. Bregman's still a good hitter. Like, they're good players. So it's just whatever. It sucks. And people are the worst is the Astros fans are like, ooh, Joe Kelly's soft. Come fight Carlos Correa. What?
No.
Like, what? Yeah. And also, you can look up Joe Kelly's time at the Red Sox if you think he's soft. When he literally, people charged him out and he fought people. Well, actually fought people, not the baseball. Like, hey, bro. The fuck, bro. Fuck. So, whatever. And people will also be like, Joe Kelly's mad at cheating when he was on the Red Sox when they got caught cheat. It's like, it's not, you're missing the point. So.
All right. Good baseball discussion.
Yeah, that's over.
Okay, 2 more things to talk about. One of them being our last chance you review, and we'll talk about that last before we go into our draft. Football transition to football. But let's talk about NBA basketball, which is officially back. Season started, and we are watching full-on games that matter. Off the bat, Kings are already out. Just
that's tough, man.
It's not necessarily we're out, but like
probably you're out.
I mean, we need some good things to happen for us. We needed to beat the Spurs, and we didn't. And so that's not good. The Pelicans also lost, which isn't good for them either.
Yes.
So solidifying even more my thought that the Grizzlies probably got that AC locked up.
Probably right.
Go ahead.
You can keep talking. You're good. I'm nothing to add.
Other thing, Lakers, obviously, they lost to Toronto last night, which they looked good, but the Raptors look good too, and that was surprising.
Raptors defensively are just so good.
They're deep too. That whole team, like they're Anthony Davis and LeBron are the 2 best players on that court, and somehow the Raptors are still able to pull it out just because they have so many guys who are versatile, good defenders, work together well as a team. What I think also helps the Lakers, we also saw a Lakers-Clippers matchup. That was the first game for the Lakers. I think the Lakers are the better team, not because of talent, but because that team has more team chemistry. They seem to have more fun playing with each other. And, of course, they're LeBron's guys, so that usually is the reason why. Yes. And I think that is part of the reason LeBron teams win so much is because he brings in guys he knows, I can work with this person. They might not be the best player, but I can work with them, and I have a relationship with them, and we can communicate, and they know what I'm thinking when I'm thinking it, and I know what they're thinking. And we can play well together. And that's why his teams are usually successful. And he brings in, and everyone says he's the GM because he brings in whoever he wants. But it works. And so why, if you're a team, would you tell him not to do it?
Now, when you said it works, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, fucking works. 3-6 in the NBA final. He's been in the finals every year before the year prior for like 7 years in a row.
Yeah. No, I mean, the dude's literally always in the finals. The metric of success is not always just winning the finals. Like,
yes,
you had to beat so many teams to get to the finals. So
that's when people be like, "Oh, the East is weak," but nobody says shit now when Giannis is fucking in the.
And now LeBron's dominating the West too. So,
it's my GOAT.
Now, I'm not the biggest LeBron guy because I'm not the biggest Lakers guy. I was fine with LeBron, but it's like when he wins the Lakers, I was like,
but
fuck.
I like LeBron. Fuck.
I did not want that to happen. Then Anthony Davis, and I was trying to spin it because I got Laker fan friends, and I was trying to spin it. Whatever. You gave up all your young players. Have good luck in 2 years after they win 2 straight finals. So, but so it's been fun watching it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really needs to be talked about. The Heat look good. Yeah, the Heat look good.
TJ Warren for 3-point game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was cool. Out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, he got traded to the Pacers for cash considerations.
Yeah.
Which in basketball means like, look, we just don't fucking go away.
Please just get this contract out of here.
Which I'm not saying TJ Warren is like a superstar or whatever, but it's nice. That was cool to watch.
It was. James Harden looked fantastic.
James Harden. Yes. The Mavs looked out of sorts.
Despite losing, Fox put up a career high in his first game in the play. Well, I guess these aren't the playoffs. I don't know why I'm still considering playoffs in my head. They kind of are, kind of aren't.
It isn't. What do the Kings need?
We need to be higher than. So it's hard to say it like flat out because depending on how people win, what games other people win. So I could go into the Pelicans need to lose this game and this game, then we have to win. But I think the easiest way to say it is we have to be higher than the Pelicans. We have to be higher than every other team and we have
Okay.
to be 4 games behind the Grizzlies. That
Okay.
probably takes us winning 6 of our next 7 games.
Okay.
So
That's tough.
it's going to be hard.
That's
Maybe
tough.
we squeeze in with 5 if everything falls right, but it's
Yeah, if
unlikely.
like other people lose.
Yeah. So we'd probably need to win like 6 of our next 7.
Okay.
So
The Cavs don't need to do shit 'cause we're not there.
Yeah, you didn't get
So.
invited.
Go Cavs, baby.
Okay, that's enough NBA talk for now.
All right.
Let's talk about Last Chance U, and I was excited.
do
I
it.
kept trying to text Thomas while I was watching it, like everything I was thinking, and hopefully I don't forget it now. But I kept trying to text him. I was like, wait, we should save this for the show. I always do this where I'm texting you before the show, and then I can't think of what I was going to say during the show, and we've already talked about it. But let's start with the cast and kind of like the people we like the most and the people we didn't like.
Okay.
Actually, let's start with an overview. How do you compare this season to other seasons in terms of how good is this season?
This is my favorite season of Last Chance U.
I'd say you're probably right. Now, there's some kind of
it's
nostalgia
just a
factor.
preference.
There's like a nostalgia factor to the first season.
I was going to say the first season will always be super fun to watch because it was when they were first doing it and you were like, oh, what's going on? And Buddy Stevens was like, so, but like, I think, and maybe I'll have to watch it again and I'll periodically I'll watch the other seasons. I'll go through and watch them again if I'm bored and maybe I'll end up liking them better. But I think its only competition is that the first season at EMCC.
Yeah, so I think that season and this season were the 2 best, and then there's some debate which one's better between the 2. I think in the middle, I think season 2 was all right if I remember correct, and then I think the last 2 were kind of.
Yeah.
Now, so what I liked about this one is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time we're like in an urban area, right? Usually it's in the bumfuck country.
Because EMCC and Independence were both in, one was in bumfuck Mississippi, one was in bumfuck Kansas. So yes.
Yeah, so this is the first time we're in Oakland, California, which I have some connection to. I didn't live in Oakland. I lived in Concord, California when I was younger, which is about 15 minutes from Oakland.
Oh, okay.
So cool. I was right there. And Oakland's a cool place. And so it obviously has a reputation, and they talked about this in the show, of being, it used to be that it was it was a really tough area, and then everything started getting gentrified.
Kind of a weird, like man, I miss the days you could walk. Now I miss the days you could walk around the street and like you'd see like 3 homeless people. Like that was cool. Like, really?
I think it's more like you got to think of like the urban environment. It's becoming less urban and becoming more hipstery. Well, and so it's becoming less New York and becoming more San Francisco.
Or San Francisco, yeah. Well, Portland's not necessarily a good example.
I think homelessness is still a problem there.
Yes.
Well, I think it's less like, just culture. You know, now it's more like kale smoothie places and shit.
There's a coffee shops everywhere and stuff like that. There's an Apple store or something.
Mm-hmm. So,
like when they followed that police officer around for that brief period, he was like, man, I get what people are saying, but like, I'm just happy I don't got to get shot at every day. So
that's the usually, when you have a city that you're kind of, it's not been, made into a rich, wealthy area, that because low income, usually, it leads to neighborhoods that aren't as good. But then they come in and they push all that out. And what they were talking about is how San Francisco got it too expensive, so the people from San Francisco moved to Oakland. Oakland got too expensive, so now the people who lived in Oakland have to move out. And that's the fucked thing. It's like it's an endless cycle until every city is gentrified.
It's a weirdly introspective segment from a show about football players.
Oh yeah, this season was very, but it did it in a way that I didn't feel like, when are we gonna do football? Like,
I just my only beef with it was they kept like talking about like, man, I love when there was like graffitis of dicks on the walls everywhere. That was like, it was just weird. That part was weird to me, but I enjoyed like the look at the city. And I think another thing that made this season different was like Indy and EMCC were actually like last chance U's. Like you had SEC transfers that had gotten kicked off or were academically ineligible or something. This is just Oakland kids at an Oakland community college that want to go to the next the D1 level or scholarship level.
And I think a lot of these, because the thing with those ones were like, those kids weren't necessarily like, some of them were, but they weren't necessarily forced to go to community college because they were poor, homeless, things like that. They were just they couldn't make it with these D1 schools, so now they got to go, and they know they're going to go back.
Yeah, it was their last chance. So that is a little different this year.
Whereas this one was like the Dior Walker stuff was so real from a lot of it. Like when after the game, he's throwing up in the trash can. And it's not because he's exhausted. It's because he's so stressed out from this family shit. Like, that whole father relationship with Dior Walker was a weird fucking...
His dad sucks.
Probably the most interesting character we've had just because of that relationship was was at the forefront of this whole season. And it was a fucked relationship that I can't even imagine. I mean, the thing they talked about, you know, wearing girl clothes, making him go to school wearing girl clothes, shaving his head so that people will laugh at him. Like that's some next level fuck shit. Like he even said, like I would have rather got beat. You know, so he beat me.
Yeah,
but I deserve it.
Sometimes I deserved it. Yeah, but other times it was like I think it was a little too much.
When you send me to school to humiliate me so no one respects me, that's a different level of fucking punishment.
That's stupid. That's abuse.
Yeah, and you know, I don't agree with beating your kids. Obviously, well, not obviously. Some people are fine with that. But I don't agree with beating your kids. Now I understand some parents do it, but taking it to the level of humiliation, you know, the worst when I was a kid was never someone getting mad at me. It was like let me make you feel like shit emotionally.
Yeah,
that's like the worst kind of punishment. Like, like oh, I'm disappointed in you. Like, I'm not going to talk to you today.
I mean, he clearly because his dad is a Navy vet from California, so under California law, he can go to any California state school for free, or no tuition at least, which is fucking expensive. But if he really wanted the best for his son, he'd be like, look, like, don't let me stop you from going to a good school to get something with your life. Like, you won't ever have to see me, whatever, it's fine. Go to a good school. Instead, he's like, you want to go to Hawaii? And it's just like, you suck. Like, you suck.
Right.
Like, he never had a real conversation with his dad ever. And this is too introspective for a sports podcast. But
woo! No, this is good because this is what this season was about. And I know a lot of people like Last Chance U who like sports.
This season was very different, and it was a lot less football centric.
But it didn't rub me in a way that was like, I came here for football. Don't show me the struggles. I want to see the struggles, and then I want to see how they relate to the football. But okay, let's talk about characters now. We already talked about Dior Walker. He's obviously in the category of characters we like. I want to touch on a thing you texted me real early on. There are no heels in the show, and if you don't know what a heel is, it's a bad guy. There's no bad guys in this show. All right, and really there's not, because even there'd be times where I'd hit and I'd go, okay, this guy, I disagree with Tom. This guy's a bad guy. And then the next episode I'd go, okay, well.
It's definitely, I mean, coming from EMCC and Independence, where Independence, the heel was fucking the coach, and to EMCC, the heel was the coach as well. But, like, there's just a lot less, like I said, there's no SEC bounce backs. There's no former D1 athletes that are like, whatever, I'm too fucking good to be here, blah, 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 blah. There's nobody like that. I mean, the closest is, you can go ahead. You can lead
the closest was, what's his name, Rajon, right?
Yeah.
And now, did he... But the thing is, like, he wasn't flexing this "I'm better than everyone" thing. Like, he did,
talk trash.
But it wasn't to his own team. It wasn't like, I'm ahead of you, coach. You know?
Yeah.
There was
you're
here, and I should be ahead of you.
Yeah. There was a moment in, I'm not sure if it was season 1 or 2 of EMCC, where John Franklin III, who was their other quarterback that was really fast, who's actually in the NFL now for the Bucks as like a DB/wide receiver. He gets like an offer letter from UAB, and he just throws it in the trash. And it's like, mother.
He was a hateable character.
Did not like John. I mean, whatever. I wish him success. I'm sure he's not a bad person.
Yeah. It's reality TV. You make it.
Yeah.
So you have to keep that in mind.
Another thing I noticed with this is the editing makes people look very bad at some points. And also a lot of reused like audio clips and visual clips for some reason. I don't know why. I guess maybe they just ran out of footage. But like there was one game where I don't remember what game, who they're playing, but like they needed a touchdown or something, and they used the video clip and audio clip of Coach Beam saying, "Come on, Dior, I need this," like 3 or 4 times, like in the same game, and I was like,
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
So The games were exciting though, for sure.
Well, yeah.
What we did get to see of football, they had a formula of the season would end with the episode would end with the game. We do lead up game in the episode of the game, and we keep doing that the whole time.
Yeah.
Obviously the team wasn't very good, and so we
No.
didn't get like a playoff run or anything. And I got off track because we were talking about the characters.
Sorry, that was my fault. You're good.
But anyway, so back to it. Dior Walker we liked. How did you feel about Coach Beam?
Coach Beam, I think he was the most, goes without saying, the most level-headed coach of all the last 6 years.
He gave me Phil Jackson vibes in a way.
A little bit. He kind of, he had his moments where he's like a fire-breathing dragon, but I think every coach does, so whatever. I think he was the most, he knew when to reel it in. He knew how to be, friends to his players, and not like the fake friends like Jason Brown was. He was like, nah, I got 6 caddies. So it's just I think he was the best one. He might not be the best football coach in terms of X's and O's, but
he was very aware because, he would have those moments, and every coach in every season always does this. Players these days are so soft. And he had that. He'd say that. But then he'd go, but I know that that's how we got to kind of do it because that's how they are. I got this wife that's a therapist. He talks about healing. And, when Rajon Wright injures his ankle, he kisses him. Another weird thing that happened is, man, all those other players were roasting everyone who had mental problems. Like Dior, they were like, he couldn't breathe because his dad doesn't love him. Your dad doesn't love you.
That's the culture of football, though, and that's. I can't speak on the culture of urban California, but of course, because I'm a white dude from West Texas, but that's just the culture of football. No weakness ever. What's going on? Run through it literally sometimes. So,
then let's see, who else? Coach Beam, likable for sure, probably the best coach so far. In terms
he also treated his staff very well.
Yeah.
Buddy Stevens did not treat his staff well at all, but Jason Brown, his staff didn't get paid. Oh, fuck.
Who else am I missing? RJ Stern is a complex character to me. I don't know how I feel.
I don't dislike RJ, but after clearly where he's like, hey, you need to run inside routes because that's who you are. If you want to go to the next level, you will never be a boundary receiver if you're 5'10", 5'11", and you're not a dominating presence in contested catches. And then when he doesn't do that in practice and then turns around and one of the talking heads and is like, when they watch me, they'll see a technically sound. No, you're not. You're not technically sound.
Right.
And maybe it was edited to make him look worse, which if it was, whatever. But it's just then you're not taking and what the coaching is. And if you're well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, then why did you go there? Go somewhere else.
Right. Now I do feel like he did get a little disrespected. There is parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
He also probably had the most terrible upbringing out of everyone.
Yeah.
In any season. And it's weird because usually, he has this air about him that he could be the spoiled, rich white kid. And he carries that on the field. And that would have been my first thought before they went into that episode about his backstory. And you're like, wow. And you see where he lives. He lives in it looks like he lives in almost a crack house. Everything is just everywhere. Everything is books. He lives in some wizard and witchery house. He doesn't live with anyone he knows. It's almost a cult. And it's kind of weird. And then, of course, his mom is fucked up mentally. And you can see it in her interviews because she was sexually abused as a kid. And he had the weirdest, most fucked up upbringing. And so that is when I go, I can't. He doesn't fit. He should be all fucked up. He doesn't seem fucked up. He seems you know what, I'm just dealing with this. He seems to block out all of that.
Yeah, he's just got a very one-track, but I think he fills that, and now I'm not a psychiatrist or whatever, but it seems like he fills that by being very obsessive about playing football.
Yes. And he was a good artist, too.
Yeah, he did drawings.
I was
nice.
oh, okay. You can draw, too.
Okay.
But, at first, I was like, this cocky motherfucker, I'm going to hate this character. And then quickly, the editing and the way they edited it, the way they directed that, was to make it go, okay, he's not a cocky motherfucker because he's not good, so he can't really be a cocky motherfucker. He's more like kind of the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be like, oh, I could have done, talking under his breath, walking down, I could have done that, coach.
I could have done that, coach.
Just walking down, he's like, they'll see me next time. They'll see me next game when I'm out of here. And so you'd see him off on the sideline, so you kind of be like, well, he's kind of like the lovable, like, doofus, you know?
Doofus. Jeez.
You're like, I kind of, it's like, I don't like him because he's so good, but you're like, I kind of feel bad for him, like he's just kind of like, you know, he's never is enough, and then he went on to play D2, so that's good for him. I think,
yeah, and I think if that's a good staff and it's the right staff for him, like he will be good and he'll enjoy it.
I don't think he'll ever make D1 or probably college.
I don't know his measurables outside of his height.
He said
tall. He said he ran a 4.5, but
he
whatever.
He looked fast, but
he's probably fast. But
there's a lot of fast players.
I don't know how much he weighs. I don't know how much anything. So
he was 185.
And 185, and he's like, man, I work my ass off. It's like, that's good. You need to, but like that alone is gonna get you nowhere. Like blind effort gets you beat every time. So.
All right, New was a likable character.
Probably the best football player. No, Rajon Wright was better.
Rajon was
but
better.
Probably the second best football player on the show.
Yes. So, and he was likable, and you could root for him. Again, like most of the players do in these shows, they get in their own way. And
yeah, the stupid
the plagiarism thing. And it was so funny because they kind of, I liked how they edited it. It was like not supposed to be like a focus.
Yeah.
When they didn't like put intense music over it and like really try to hint like, oh, he's doing something dumb here.
Plagiarized. They were just, the guy was like, hey, let me put up my name on your paper.
He's
okay.
Like, you got to turn in a rough draft. You didn't turn in one. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. He's like, bro, that's like half your grade. Didn't you fail last time? And he's like, here, I'll just give you mine. He's like, okay. And that was the whole conversation. You didn't think of anything. But I'm watching it going, this dumb motherfucker. They just said there was a whole scene earlier about if you plagiarize, you get an F.
I was like, you've been in college and I'm in college. Like, for me, and probably for you, it's like, if you plagiarize, you fail the fucking class. And
we will sue you.
You are academically ruined. And it's like, here he's just like, okay, I'll take the F. Like,
yeah. Well, it's a JUCO, so you know.
I still, but like, shit. Like, dude, that English teacher was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't like her at all. And I texted you before, like, making the kids read her own book is a red flag.
Every college professor does that shit, though.
But, like, I've thought about this, too. If they're not in, like, the best area, maybe she's like, well, I can just get copies of my book and use that for curriculum instead of, like, ordering all these other books.
That's true.
So if that's the case, that's actually great. If that's not the case, fuck you. That sucks. Don't pimp out your own book.
But most professors do that. How many textbooks did you have to buy that were written by the professor? Almost all of mine were. Yeah,
I think you're right. But, I mean, points the same for all that, so whatever. The pampered pussies section was like...
Yeah, that was stupid. That was not good look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like her either. And then the way she was with New and his kids.
Now, I think the tail end of this is when the coronavirus stuff was happening, so I don't think they wanted, like, kids in the classrooms, like people's kids. But she's like, oh, you guys get so much help. Well, you get so much help. And then he's like, hey, I don't have anybody to watch my kids. Can I bring my kids into class? No. What the fuck?
All right, then I can't come to class. Sorry.
I can't come to class. I have to watch my children.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Stuff like that is just like, it's...
Yeah. This one had sad moments, but I think a lot of it was redeeming in that you felt like, okay, we've got good family units here.
Yeah, a lot of it was resolved.
Except Dior. Dior was probably the only one where it was like, not a good family unit he's got going.
Yeah.
He doesn't have anyone sleeping in his car.
Now he did. Oh, no. Well, never mind. He went to Stanford. Never mind.
So, okay. Anything else we need to say about Last Chance U?
2 thumbs up on this season. If you're in it for the football and not the characters and the overarching story, probably not going to like it that much. If your favorite season was the independent seasons because of Jason Brown, you will not like this season.
Yeah, this season does not have someone you can hate, but it has a lot of good stories.
Yes, it is not like a showcase. Like this is if the first 2 seasons were professional wrestling, this season is like MMA, UFC. No, that's not even a good comparison anymore. This season is like fencing. It's not like meant to be. Sorry, hand. It's not meant to be super like exciting. There's not supposed to be characters. It's just telling the story of the people. So
Yes. Okay. So that's all our news for the week and our review. And
I still haven't gotten the coin.
Oh no, Thomas! You have one job. This is like your say something so people know you exist thing. Where you
Yeah, but I was ready for that every time. I'm not ready for.
You were never ready for it. You would always just say something.
Well, most of the time I was after work and I was like, "Oh my god, XFL." Woo-hoo.
But okay, so we're doing our 2012 NFL redraft. I actually didn't say it at the beginning of the show, but I guess that should be assumed. Every episode we're doing a redraft.
Of some kind. I might need to. Never mind. I have a penny right here. Let's see what year it is.
Okay, a penny.
So if I luck out and it's a 2012, that'd be pretty nuts. Get this bottle of cleaner off my desk.
Oh, wow.
It is a. Oh gosh, it is a very worn penny. 2003. So not quite what we're looking for, but it's what I got.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So I'm calling it again. I call it the same every week. I'm calling it heads.
Heads. I think you've won both times, haven't you?
I have.
It is tails.
Oh, for once you get to pick. You want to go first or second?
I would love to go first.
Okay, you're gonna get the Browns pick. I was gonna shock you with the Browns pick too.
I don't know who you were gonna pick for us, but our drafts are always pretty vastly different. So,
okay, I'll probably end up taking who I was gonna take at 3 at 4 now. So,
I mean, my drafts always surprise you because apparently they're wrong. So.
They are wrong. All right, let's start off with the Indianapolis Colts, who at this time drafted the short-lived career, though still pretty. What, he played like 10 years? No, 8 years?
Yeah.
Something like that?
He played long enough.
They drafted Andrew Luck, still the best quarterback from this class. And, oh, no, why did I say that? Who you're probably going to take is the best quarterback from this class. And who is that going to be?
That is Russell motherfucking Wilson, baby.
Yeah.
What I think right now is, and this might be a hot take, but I think Russell is the best quarterback in the league at this point. If you want to say Patrick Mahomes, I'm not mad at you. I understand. I disagree, but I'm like, that makes sense. We probably have I talked about Russell Wilson on the show already, and how much I love him. Okay. No. The Seahawks didn't have Russell Wilson. They'd have 2-14, 3-13 seasons. They'd have another he is so good, and he backpacks the crap out of the Seattle Seahawks. His deep ball is ridiculous. His ability to escape the pocket is ridiculous. His ability to manage the pocket is ridiculous, and his ability to get a throw off when there's 40 people on top of him is ridiculous. Super good. If Andrew Luck played longer and the Colts didn't completely mismanage his career, maybe Andrew Luck could be better, but you have to go Russell Wilson here.
So then that begs the question, does Russell Wilson have any of the same problems that Andrew Luck did in Indianapolis?
Maybe, because at this point they had Ryan Grigson as their GM, who is now working for the Cleveland Browns as an assistant. Ryan Grigson, if you ask any of the Colts players, the big-time Colts players out there, Pat McAfee talks about him all the time and how much he sucks. Robert Mathis talks about him all the time, how much he sucks. Basically, any Colts player from that era was like, yo, fuck Ryan Grigson, because he didn't do a good job. He was not friendly to the players, just a lot of stuff. So he refused to draft offensive linemen. It was like a Cleveland Browns-esque draft thing where it's if you look at their drafts, there aren't many first-round picks still left on the roster. So, and I can talk shit about Cleveland Browns. I'm a Browns fan before any of y'all come for me. So, but yeah.
And we're going to have to bring this up now that you've taken Russell Wilson here, and we'll bring it up when we get to the Seahawks later on. Then what do the Seahawks look like without Russell Wilson? I guess we'll see who we pick there.
So you have to remember, at this point, they had Matt Flynn from the Packers, and they was projected to be their starter, which, whatever. I mean, who knows how well that would have gone? Probably not very well.
Probably not.
But who knows? Probably not very well, but who knows how that would have gone. I don't think – you got to remember they took Russell Wilson the third. Was the third or the fifth? Fourth round. So it wasn't a need. They just really liked him, and they're like, he can back up Matt Flynn. Maybe something crazy happens, and something crazy happened. So.
Yeah. All right. So, obvious pick there at number 1 was Russell Wilson. So now we're to number 2 at Washington, where they also picked a quarterback in RG3. And now I've got a decision to make because I'm taking a quarterback for him. They need it.
Fine.
Now I'm between 2.
Okay.
Now, do I go for the longer career, or do I go for the better quarterback?
There's a right answer here.
I think you're wrong because I think. All right, I'm gonna take Andrew Luck here.
No, that's the right answer. I agree.
But I think the other one was probably the right answer. I think so.
Mm-mm.
Now,
Mm-mm.
not in Washington. That's the problem. And I'll take Andrew Luck. And, you're going to get 8 years. Some of them injured, some of them not. You're still going to be kind of middling. You'll be better off than when you had RG3 and what you had with Kirk Cousins later on, probably. But I still think overall, I think Andrew Luck might get in the same situation Kirk Cousins does, where that team is just not good enough around him to win anything. There's no weapons. There's nothing. So
There's nothing.
There's literally nothing on this team, and I think that hurt Kirk Cousins early on, but didn't hurt him that bad because I think the Minnesota realized, and a lot of teams in the NFL realized, a lot of teams were offering when he was a free agent, that he was still doing really well, had the arm to do it all, and still had great stats despite having literally nothing.
Yes.
So I think Kirk Cousins, I guess I'll spoil it now, Kirk Cousins is the other quarterback I was considering.
I think he's the only other quarterback in this class we're taking in the top 15. So.
Yeah, and so I was considering Kirk Cousins here, but because it's Washington, I think I almost would have taken Kirk Cousins' career. Just I feel like Kirk Cousins is probably going to play till he's 35, 38, and you're going to get, and he'll be, he's been a top 15, sometimes top 10 player.
Yeah,
at times.
Sometimes.
And I think he's consistently been a top 15, but sometimes he cracks that top 10. And statistically, he'd be a top 10 for sure because he always is at the top statistically in every category, except maybe touchdowns. But QBR and stuff like that. But why am I talking about Kirk Cousins? This was an Andrew Luck pick. Andrew Luck is a fantastic quarterback who, because of injuries, didn't get to show it off. If he was still playing, that's why at first my mind was like, probably still the best quarterback in this class because I'm still thinking, well, if Andrew Luck was still playing, how does he compare to Russell Wilson? If Andrew Luck was healthy, because Andrew Luck is a talented quarterback.
He was very good.
There was arguments he could have ended up being the best quarterback in the league, but it just because of how much he was injured. They also didn't have a lot around him early on.
They didn't do anything for him. They did nothing for him.
He took a team that went like 0-16 and turned them around into a team that was pretty good and could make the playoffs.
Yes.
So, okay. So I'm going to take Andrew Luck here for Washington.
Okay.
And how they manage RG3, they'll probably manage Andrew Luck in the same way, and he'll get injured and be out of the league in 8 years. Anyway, so nothing's really changing here. All right, let's go to your team, the Cleveland Browns, with the third
Cleveland
pick.
Browns, baby.
Who originally picked
Trent Richardson. Which, whatever. I mean, nowadays you don't pick running backs in the top. Well, unless you're the Giants and whatever, you don't pick running backs high. At the time, I was very excited for this pick. Because I was like, fuck yeah.
That first first few games looked real good.
First season, he was fine. He was good.
He trucked the dude's helmet off, and we were like, ooh, okay, Trent Richardson.
Then he started getting hurt. Our line started getting hurt. We had some interesting play calling. And then it all just kind of went downhill from there. The joke, the meme or the joke is like, oh, Trent Richardson has terrible vision. Like, he fucking misses the hole. He did sometimes, but sometimes that wasn't the play. So whatever. Enough about Trent Richardson. Whatever. I mean, I wished for him to succeed, obviously. We got a first-round pick from the Colts. Thanks. But here, so the year prior, they traded down when they could have drafted Julio Jones to pick up Phil Taylor, who's a defensive tackle, who was all right. He was hurt a lot for us. But I'm going to take another D-tackle here, and Fletcher Cox out of Mississippi State. In my opinion... never mind. I can't say that. But he would still be playing for the Browns today. He's still playing at a high level for the Eagles now. He's a elite pass rusher on the interior. He's really good at run stopping too. He's a complete player. He's a 3-down player. He's not going to come off the field. So I think it's an easy pick. I think it fills a need that the Browns, frankly, still have now. So Fletcher Cox, Mississippi State.
Yeah, I think that's a smart pick. Not who I would have taken, because I told you I was going to shock you at number 3, and I'll let you know who it is now because I will pick that person here at number 4 for the Minnesota Vikings, who originally took Matt Khalil, who at a time was like, yes, we've solved our offensive line problems, and then not so much. He got sick, he got skinny, and he got weak. So who I'm going to take here at number 4, quarterback, Kirk Cousins.
Really?
Yes. So our biggest problem at this time, we still have prime AP years. where he led us to the playoffs just on his running alone.
All right.
Kirk Cousins, as I was just arguing for him, has been a top 10 quarterback. He's a quarterback who can get you to the Super Bowl if you have a good team around you. He can.
Yes.
Our defense was fine at this point. We had some of our pieces that would be coming on later to make us such a good defense. We had some of those already on our team. Harrison Smith, Everson Griffin. And so we were already building that defense. If we would have had Kirk Cousins earlier, and I think this is a prime time, we got to the playoffs with Christian Ponder. If we had Kirk Cousins, I think we could have made a run. I feel like Adrian Peterson was so unstoppable that what we're seeing like now with Dalvin Cook, Adrian Peterson's better than Dalvin Cook is. And Adrian Peterson's probably better than Dalvin Cook is right now. But what Kirk Cousins can do with Dalvin Cook could have done 100 times more with Adrian Peterson. The play action stuff would have worked fantastic. We didn't have the wide receivers that we did. So at this point, we had Percy Harvin still, and we had Jerome Simpson.
Okay.
Jerome was okay. He actually wasn't awful. I kind of liked him. I think that team was good enough to make a deeper playoff run than we did. I can't remember if this is the year that we got to the first round with Christian Ponder and lost to the Packers.
Was this the year that Adrian Peterson was like 9 yards short of the record?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. This season with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, I think there was a chance we could have made it. So I'm going to take Kirk Cousins here, and we probably keep him up until this point. I mean,
is this who you're going to take for the Browns?
This was who I was going to take for the Browns.
Okay.
You needed a quarterback too. You've just figured out, and we don't even know if you figured out quarterback yet, but you've just figured out quarterback last year or a year ago.
Yeah.
Quarterback, if you can get one that's really good, get one that's really good. And Kirk Cousins is ranked 1, 2, 3. Let me look. Kirk Cousins is ranked 16th on my board.
So he's average? Oh, on your board.
On my board.
Okay.
But quarterback, all four of these teams.
The need is there. The need is there.
I was thinking quarterback was going to go 1, 2, 3, just because quarterback's so important. And all three of these guys were pretty solid, top half of the league quarterbacks. I would have taken Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins would be drafted if you had them, if they knew what he was going to be.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins can win you games. Kirk Cousins can get you to the playoffs. So
I'm not a Kirk Cousins hater.
So I will argue for Kirk Cousins there at 4. Obviously, there was some talent here, but I think our team was destroyed by how bad our quarterback was under Leslie Frazier for several years until Mike Zimmer came in and was like, get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
So, okay, we'll move on to your pick here at 5 at Jacksonville.
Okay. So Jacksonville originally here this is Justin Blackmon, correct? Yes. Justin Blackmon, who I think could have been a good receiver. He had some problems with alcohol, just general moroseness, I guess. But I'm not going to go wide receiver here just because of who is now here since you took Kirk Cousins. I'm going to take Bobby Wagner, linebacker, Utah State. Some may argue Luke Kuechly here is better, and that's fine. That's just preference. Luke Kuechly also retired semi-early, but, I mean, he still played for, 10 years.
Yeah,
so,
and Bobby Wagner, at this point in his career, is starting to creep down. So.
Yes, but Bobby Wagner truly was or is an elite linebacker, can do everything. His past, not this year, but, the 4 years before that, it was Bobby Wagner's the best linebacker in the league, by far. I think it's an easy pick with who the Jaguars have at linebacker. Their best linebacker is Paul Posluszny, who's okay. But other than that, it's kind of lacking. They are still lacking a wide receiver, but I don't think you can draft any of the wide receivers in this class over Bobby Wagner. So,
yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, there'd be some debate. I have Bobby Wagner ranked as my second best player on my big board. But there is debate, of course, with him and Luke Kuechly. Okay, let me take the Dallas Cowboys pick, and it would seem obvious that I would take Luke Kuechly here, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
I'm going to take cornerback Stephon Gilmore
Good pick.
For the Dallas Cowboys. They took Morris Claiborne here. Obviously, he didn't work out in the way they thought he was going to work out. Stephon Gilmore might be the best cornerback in the league right now.
Probably is.
And he's been fantastic since he started with the Bills. And I think if you're going to take, they needed a corner at this time. You could have taken Luke Kuechly here, but they had two pretty solid linebackers, and I think maybe bolster that secondary. There was need all over the secondary, and I think you add Stephon Gilmore, and that's a quick, easy fix. And you have a guy who you can pretty much man up, put in zone, do anything you want.
I agree.
Let's move on to your pick at 7 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this point. I think this is the last year of Josh Freeman, unless I'm just wrong. I think I'm just wrong.
Yes, this
actually.
is when I think there's one more year.
There's one more year.
They trade him to the
Vikings, and the Vikings were like, "You've had 3 days."
We don't have that problem now that we have Kirk Cousins.
That's true.
We drafted Kirk Cousins. I don't have to deal with Josh Freeman for a game.
Well, do you remember the fucking the smear campaign that the Buccaneers ran against Josh Freeman so they could justify trading? They were like, "He does cocaine." It's like, what?
Yeah, it was weird. It was a whole.
It was really weird because Josh Freeman was fine. He was never like exceptional. He was always like, he's pretty good.
I got hyped for a little bit. I'm gonna be honest. And then he played, and I was like, oh.
Well, I think.
I know he only had 3 games, but I was like, oh.
Well, he had 3 days.
3 days. He only had 3 days, and I was.
I
was like, well, I don't know. We can try. And then he played one more, I think, and then it still wasn't good.
And then it was Zimmer was here at this point, or was it Leslie Frazier?
It was still Leslie Frazier.
Okay, I knew you said something about it earlier. I don't remember what you said. We're back. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Looking here, I'm looking at their roster right now. They kind of have decent talent all over the place. They're okay kind of everywhere. Originally here, they took
Mark
Barron, who, whatever, he washed out pretty quick. I mean, I think he got really fat. I think he eventually moved to D-tackle, which is pretty hilarious. That a safety moved to D-tackle. But I don't think he got fat. I think they told him to bulk up. So I'm not saying he's just like some fat fuck who doesn't know how to whatever. My original pick for them has been taken, so that's why I'm kind of scrambling.
See, that's why you can't do it that way.
I know. Yeah, actually, this should be pretty easy. They would pick up Levante David later, but I'm just gonna go Luke Kuechly since he's here. He's an elite player, very comparable to, honestly, so is Levante David. But I think Luke Kuechly in his elite stretch of years is just a little bit better than Levante David. Just so.
Okay, no, that's fair. Levante David is a fantastic linebacker.
We didn't talk about the NFL Top 100.
Shit. Well,
that's fine.
We're already an hour into this.
Shit sucks. It's a dumb list.
It's a dumb list.
That's all you need to know about it. Levante David was 100.
Yeah. Josh Allen was like 60.
Jimmy Garoppolo was 43. That's terrible.
Okay. All right. So not a bad pick there, Levante David. They're gonna take him anyway. I mean, you took Luke Kuechly.
Yes, Luke Kuechly. You're good.
So you're taking Luke Kuechly, obviously one of the best linebackers in the past decade. Just retired pretty recently. But still, that's a long enough career to deserve a top 10 pick, and how consistent he was year in and year out. All right, yes. Miami originally took Ryan Tannehill. No quarterbacks here. As much as they need a quarterback, there's really no quarterback here for me to take. So I would have taken Kirk Cousins here, maybe. If
that's what I did.
But that was originally, and then I was looking, and when I was going through, and I was like, man, all these top 4 teams need a quarterback. Browns, Vikings. And I was like, there's no way he's going to make it past 4 just because he's a good enough quarterback to make it in that conversation. Okay, so I'm struggling here a little bit. They could really use anything. Their offensive line was pretty solid. And there's not a quarterback here, so I'm just going to have to take the best player available and go ahead and take Chandler Jones.
You fuck.
So Chandler Jones is one of the best pass rushers in the league still.
I agree.
He's statistically a monster.
Yes.
His sack numbers are ridiculous. You add him to this defense, how much better they get, I don't know. Probably not enough that they're going to beat the Patriots and they're never going to make the playoffs. But you start putting pieces in place, and maybe this team turns around. And Ryan Tannehill wasn't the answer anyway, despite some recent success from him. It didn't work in Miami, so not a big loss not getting Ryan Tannehill here.
Yes.
All right, number 9, Carolina Panthers.
Okay, so the Panthers, originally I had them taking Chandler Jones here, which obviously have just taken before me, so fuck you. They originally took Luke Kuechly here in the draft, which was when they took Luke Kuechly, people were like, "How the fuck did you take Luke Kuechly? What the fuck?" Which is hilarious. But kind of got an easy pick here again. I'm taking Levante David.
Yeah,
because they need a linebacker.
Now, granted, Luke Kuechly inside guy, Levante David an outside guy.
Outside, but they can kind of do the same thing.
And it still works. Like you'd end up with just Thomas Davis and Levante David.
I was gonna say, like, they still have Thomas Davis, and this is when Thomas Davis was like 28, 29.
Yeah.
So they're still
yeah, they
good
still have
there.
a great linebacking core for sure.
Levante David's probably one of the most underrated players in the league because the Bucks just haven't been that great as of late, and they just haven't gotten national recognition. It's kind of like Daniil Hunter on the Vikings.
He's one of those guys. Levante David's one of those guys where I wouldn't have known how good he was unless I had not been playing. Like, I played Madden, and you'd be like, well, who's this fucking 98 overall linebacker on the goddamn Bucks? I'm never watching Bucks games. And then I trade for him or get him in whatever way. And then you start paying attention to football. You go, well, this guy's so good, let me see. And then you start knowing who he is. But he's one of those guys, because he was on a bad team, you don't know.
Yeah.
He is not. Is he still in the Bucks? He's not still in the Bucks.
Yes, he is. He's still in the Bucks.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Who am I thinking? They had another linebacker who went to the 49ers, right? Last year.
Oh, Quan Alexander.
Yeah.
That's who you're thinking of.
Yeah. He's good, too. Okay. Let's move on now. You picked him. So I'm going 10, Buffalo Bills. Originally took Stephon Gilmore. Not another cornerback in this class. There is, but probably that I would take this high. They had a solid free safety. They had solid people at D tackle, so I'm not going to address those positions. But, I have a decision here. Do I pick?
Okay.
Now, my next highest ranked player is a safety.
Okay.
Now, they had Jarius Byrd. Now, the person I'm considering here is Harrison Smith.
Okay.
And I'm not going to pick him yet, but Harrison Smith for the Vikings does not play free safety.
No.
Now, as he was listed as a free safety in his first few seasons, he moved to strong safety. They already had a solid free safety in Jarius Byrd. If they added Harrison Smith here, he'd play strong safety.
Yeah, Harrison Smith can still play free safety.
Yeah.
He's so much better at the strong safety role. So
and because they already have Jarius Byrd, I wouldn't want him to play free safety, and I think he's better at strong safety than he is at free safety. So I will take Harrison Smith here for the Buffalo Bills. He will play strong safety beside Jarius Byrd.
You just said you weren't going to pick him.
Well, I wasn't, but now I am, because I think there's the next guy down isn't as good and as much of a playmaker. Like Harrison Smith is probably consistently, if you just look over the last 10 years, he's one or two at safety. So Earl Thomas probably the only other person in that conversation.
Yeah.
For the last 10 years. So I'm going to take Harrison Smith here for the Buffalo Bills, and it is now your pick at number 11 for the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, so the Kansas City Chiefs this year, this is when they had John Dorsey. This is their first year of Andy Reid, or maybe one of their first years of Andy Reid. No, this wasn't. I don't know. Andy Reid's here. They're still kind of in the team building phase at this point. Their quarterbacks, they still have Alex Smith. They're almost on the edge of being legit contenders. They're just not quite there yet. They're not in that top echelon of teams. And looking at their offensive line, for example, it's just not quite there. They have Brandon Albert, who is in the twilight of career at this point, but he was quite good. Otherwise, I don't know. Not really much to talk about there. Defensive backs, they still had Sean Smith, Dunta Robinson, and Brandon Flowers when all three of those were pretty good. More so Sean Smith. He kind of fell off the face of the earth. Overall, just kind of like all right across the board. So looking next year when they would get Eric Fisher, I'm just going to cut to the chase and get Mitchell Schwartz, who's an offensive tackle out of California, Browns legend, who we just let walk for some reason.
And who signed with the Chiefs, right?
Kansas City Chiefs.
So
now, Mitchell Schwartz does play right tackle, so he would not fill Eric Fisher's role. So maybe they still draft Eric Fisher to play left tackle next year. But I just think that he's one of the best right tackles in the league. He also wasn't on the top 100 list, which is. I mean, they play Von Miller twice a year, and he does very well against Von Miller. Yeah, that really my picks have been pretty easy up to this point, and there's not much I can really say about him just because it's just like I don't really have many shockers.
Yeah,
so
I think my Kirk Cousins pick at 4 might have been the biggest.
That was probably the biggest one. But yeah, Mr. Schwartz, offensive tackle, California Berkeley for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, number 12 for the Philadelphia Eagles. They picked Fletcher Cox originally. You took him very early here at 3. Now we do have another D tackle available that I could grab, who is ranked pretty highly on this list. But this team, really, anything on their defense will work out here. And if I'm going best player available, in my opinion, that's going to be Dont'a Hightower.
Okay.
And I'm going to take him here. Obviously, he's one of those, Luke Kuechly types, in that you have complete control. He is the coach of the defense on the field. He's the coach of the defense on the field. So that's a good guy to add and to have on your defense for any team. Anyone who has a great guy in the middle, as I've said before, and I've realized most championship teams, most winning teams, have a guy in the middle of their defense who's calling the shots, a great middle linebacker. And so I'm just gonna take him here and let the Eagles build their defense around Dont'a Hightower, and maybe they beat the Patriots even earlier.
This has been kind of very blasé.
It's a pretty. I mean, it's a lot of like good players, and then no one's like really questionable. I think we all know who the best players were in this class.
I think because this is we're finally entering like the year where it's like recent enough to where we remember it happening, and we watch the players play still. Yeah. So we're like, oh, like this is that guy. He's super good. Ha ba 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 ba, stuff like that. So I think that's what's happening here, but this is definitely less like what fuck than our previous drafts, for sure. So I have the Arizona Cardinals here.
Yes.
They originally picked Michael Floyd, who didn't work out. Did he get a DUI in Minnesota or did he get a DUI in Arizona?
It was in Arizona right before he came to the Vikings. I think it was like,
and then they were cut him. They cut him because he had a DUI, and then like 2 weeks later, the fucking GM got a DUI, and it was like, and he's still working for them, but whatever. So they took a wide receiver, Michael Floyd. I'm going to take another wide receiver just because I think it's the biggest need.
I would disagree, but go ahead, go for it.
And I'm going to take T.Y. Hilton out of Florida Atlantic University and roll with that. So
T.Y. Hilton's very good. T.Y. Hilton's very good. Now, they had Andre Roberts, and they had Larry Fitzgerald. I feel like you can get around, there was bigger needs on that team. I feel like you can work with those two at your wide receiver position. There's a couple players here on the defense. They didn't need cornerback, but there's a guy here I would have taken who I think is a difference maker. Wide receiver is one of those, again, it's like kind of like a running back. There's just so many good ones that you can always find one. And I think they had a solid enough group already that you could have taken a guy on the defensive end. I think they had bigger needs there than they did on their offense. But
fair.
T.Y. Hilton's the best receiver in this class, for sure.
Yes.
He just barely slips out of my top 15, like on my big board.
Yeah.
But, of course, if need permits. And I mean, that's fair. They took a wide receiver at this time. I just don't think it was the right move. But, okay, let's move on to number 14 with the St. Louis Rams, who took Michael Brockers, defensive end. This team, we seem to talk about it, never got better. Like, every time I look at the roster, I go, best available still.
Yeah.
Like, just whoever's the best player, because they still don't have anyone who's like a star, who I wouldn't replace on that team.
For a while, so.
Everyone on that team is replaceable. So then we're going to go best available player, who for me is Melvin Ingram.
Okay.
Who is also an edge rusher, linebacker, DN, can play whatever. He's an edge rusher. And I think he fits well with that team. He'll definitely play better than Michael Brockers.
Yes.
He's a super productive guy. I think for a long time he was the best player on the defense. Now maybe you can argue it's Derwin James maybe, or
Joey Bosa,
or
That might be it.
That might be it. They have that team has a great defense, so then Melvin Ingram maybe gets lost in the fold a little bit there, but he's a fantastic edge rusher and a guy who produces well statistically, and even if doesn't show up on the stats, he fucks up plays. He's a good guy to have on your team. St. Louis Rams instantly becomes the best player on their team because their team is so shit. All right, this is the final pick. The Seattle Seahawks, and we need to have a conversation here about Russell Wilson, but I'll let you make your pick here first.
Okay. So my original pick for them was taken. My original pick for them was Melvin Ingram, actually.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of options that I could go here. I don't think I can take Tannehill here, just because I think with the defensive talent that's there, I don't think you can pass them up. Let's look at their roster right quick. So this is kind of the start of the Seahawks having some weird draft directions, some odd roster composition, some overachieving. Like you look at it, it's like, how are they even a functioning football team? They actually also have very small rosters. So we're still firmly in the Legion of Boom era, kind of firm. Yeah, of course we are.
We haven't even started it necessarily.
We haven't even started. We're coming into the Russell Wilson, the Legion of Boom era. So obviously, they had picked up Richard Sherman before. They have Earl. They have Cam Chancellor. They have Byron Maxwell. They have Brandon Browner. They have the components of the Legion of Boom, which is just cover three. Looking at their defensive line, they have Cliff Averill before his neck injury. They have Michael Bennett. I think adding Melvin Ingram to this would have been nice rotational. So I think Cliff Averill wouldn't have to play so many snaps. They had Benson Mayowa, who was okay. Tony McDaniel, who was quite good. Brandon Mabane, who were quite good on the defensive tackle front. This is actually kind of a tough pick, to be honest with you.
They have one big glaring need, and you can't address it, which is quarterback.
Quarterback. Because, I mean, you don't ever want to draft for, like, super need, because then you end up passing on talent.
Because everything is already here for them to go to all those Super Bowls except the quarterback.
Yes.
Except Bobby Wagner.
Tough. Except Bobby Wagner.
Now, do you have a replacement for Bobby Wagner? I don't know.
Not really. Because, not really.
This is a tough one. This is probably the one you're going to have the most problems with.
So if I were going to go with a Bobby Wagner replacement, which these are not Bobby Wagner replacements, but they're other linebackers that are good. There's Demario Davis, who really caught on with his years with the Jets, had one random year with the Browns, and is now really good with the Saints. Or Denny Trevathan, who plays for the Bears, who's been a solid middle linebacker. Neither of them, I think, are at the talent level you want for this pick, and I'm actually having a pretty
This is a
tough
struggle.
time.
This is probably the hardest one.
This is probably the hardest pick
because your pick here is gonna decide whether this team wins Super Bowls or not. This is the team that goes on to win Super Bowls.
Yep. They have XFL alum BJ Daniels on their practice squad. This is tough, man. So let's go positional breakdown. So quarterback, they would have Matt Flynn and Tavares Jackson, and probably somebody else that they would draft later on. So not ideal, but they had just signed Matt Flynn, so they were pretty confident that he was the guy. Running back, they had Marshawn at this point, and a fellow XFL alum, Christian Michael. So they were fine there, which don't draft a running back high anyway. Wide receivers, they had Doug Baldwin, Jermaine. They had their guys. They had Ricardo Lockett, Doug Baldwin. They'd had Percy Harvin soon, even though he didn't really do much for them. Jermaine Kearse. Tight end, Zach Miller was fine. Their O-line was okay at this point. Might go there. I'm thinking I'm going. Why you smug? You look smug.
I'm just curious what you're gonna do.
Okay.
Because I know who's the highest ranked left on my board, and I would not pick him here.
No, is he an lineman?
No.
Probably the best player that I think is available is either Akeem Hicks or Casey Hayward, but I can't pick either of them here.
Yeah, those are the two I have as well, and I couldn't pick
So,
either of those guys.
So if I was just going pure best player available, it'd be either Akeem Hicks or Casey Hayward. So I'm
Yes.
aware that they're there, but you can't do that here. So I think I'm gonna go with I'm between linebacker or O-line.
I know who your O-lineman is. Probably.
Do you?
I think so.
Probably.
It's probably who I have. Probably right here after Casey Hayward and Akeem Hicks. I'm curious. I want to compare our big boards after this. I want to see. I think we're actually kind of close on our big boards.
I mean, I don't do mine as a big board.
Oh,
I like, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go with a player that has a similar skill set to Bobby Wagner and Demario Davis. I think it's more recent that he's been very, very good with the Saints. He's kind of the reason that they can run a cover two as successfully as they do because he can be everywhere. I am drafting for need. Their O-line is not so good, but it's fine. Right. If I were to draft an O, who would be the O-line?
David DeCastro?
Yes, that'd be the guy. Yeah, I don't think I can do that with looking at their linebacker room because they do have KJ Wright, who's okay. They have Malcolm Smith, who's okay at this point. They have Bruce Irving, who's all right, but more of a pass rusher guy.
Well, they took Bruce Irving here, so.
They took Bruce Irving here, so never mind. They didn't have Bruce Irving, but whatever, that's fine. Yeah, I think you got to go. I think you have to go linebacker, and you have to go to Mario Davis. I think that's.
There was kind of a lose-lose here. No matter who you pick, there was no.
Yeah, because one position is going to suffer.
You needed a quarterback, but there wasn't a quarterback here worth taking.
Yeah. So my logic also for linebacker over O-line is that the Seahawks offensive line has been bad for like 7 years, like now. So if they can win with an O-line, they'll be fine.
Now they have Russell Wilson.
Fuck. Yeah. So whatever. Yeah, that's really a lose-lose pick.
It's a hard one. Other guys I might have considered there, Olivier Vernon, edge rusher.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah.
Couldn't have taken a cornerback there. David DeCastro, maybe.
If you're going to take 2 more guards that were there, 3 more guards, Kevin Zeitler, Brandon Brooks, Kaleki Osemele. I don't know if that's how you say his name.
Osemele. Not
Osemele.
Not Osemele. Osemele.
Osemele. Okay. But you could have taken Dontari Poe, I suppose, but they have good D-line depth. That's tough. That's a tough pick to make.
Yeah, that was probably the hardest one.
Mm-hmm.
And okay. Well, I'm going to run down my big board with you and see how close we were on these.
Okay.
Right, I had Russell Wilson, number 1.
Yeah.
I had Bobby Wagner, number 2.
Yeah.
I had Luke Kuechly, number 3.
Fair.
I had Stephon Gilmore, number 4.
I'd have Fletcher Cox at 4.
Okay. I have Fletcher Cox a lot lower, so.
Okay. I really like Fletcher Cox.
I have Chandler Jones at number 5.
Okay.
I have Levante David at number 6.
Okay.
I have Andrew Luck at number 7.
Okay.
I have Fletcher Cox at number 8.
Okay.
I have Harrison Smith at number 9.
All right.
I have Dante Hightower at number 10.
I would have had him above Harrison Smith, but keep going.
I have Melvin Ingram at number 11.
I would have had Mr. Schwartz at this point. Keep going.
I had Casey Hayward at number 12.
He's really good.
I have Akeem Hicks at 13.
Good. If you didn't say Akeem Hicks next, I would have brought it up.
I have Mitchell Schwartz at 14.
Okay.
David DeCastro at 15.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins at 16.
Mm-hmm.
T.Y. Hilton at 17.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Norman at 18.
Okay.
Olivier Vernon at 19.
Okay.
Janoris Jenkins at 20.
Okay. I mean, I don't really disagree with that. I think this episode has been so just because we've kind of mostly agreed. So
yeah. I really wish I would have got the first pick so I could pick Kirk Cousins for the Browns and see how you.
Then I would have been like, nah.
But it's so much better than what you had for the.
Yeah, but
since 2012.
Yeah, but
it's been 8 years, Thomas.
That's more the fault of drafting poorly after that, not because we didn't get Kirk Cousins. You know what I mean?
But you also just had bad quarterbacks.
But that's what I mean, because we've drafted poorly after.
Now, if you would have got Kirk Cousins, wouldn't have had bad quarterbacks.
Kirk Cousins might have died, so I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
That's our show, right? So
that's our
show. As always, we appreciate you guys listening. This was a shorter one usually. I mean, it's about 30 minutes shorter, I think.
I think as we do more, we'll kind of get more. We also didn't talk about the top 100s.
That was a plan that we were going to do.
Fuck, we forgot. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do a top 100 show where we're just like, this pick was dumb because of this.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that.
No.
But anyway.
We've missed the wave.
We missed the window. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right, it's fine. The top 100 was awful.
It was a terrible list. It was the worst it's ever been.
As always, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
message us, xtrapointcontact@gmail.com, and we'll see you guys next week.
Toodaloo.
Bye-bye.